Welcome back to my channel. My name is Alexandria. You can find me on Instagram at Millennial Nursepreneur. If you like what you hear from this video, please subscribe. Today we're going to be talking about time management and why this is so important when you are just starting out as a freelance writer. And again, this content is targeted towards registered nurses and other healthcare professionals who are thinking about starting a business in freelance writing. Time management in the beginning is so important, and it's really kind of difficult. At least it was for me. I started my business in 2022 and I had a hard time figuring out exactly, where I was going to go next, what to do first, and you know, how to move to the next thing and how to prioritize those things. And in the beginning, it can be a little overwhelming, but I promise that it's not forever and that you will definitely find your footing. So let's get into some places or some things to focus on for time management, or where to focus your time, especially in the beginning, especially in that first year of being a freelance writer. So the first thing that I recommend, and yes, I have my notes, is to determine who you want to write for. Do you want to write for consumers or do you want to write for businesses? And I recommend that you pick one in the beginning because it can take a lot of time to figure out exactly how to structure the article for either of those. For consumers, a lot of times if you're, for example, writing an article on a specific medical condition, you're going to talk specifically about defining the medical condition. You're going to talk about the causes. You're going to talk about risk factors. You're going to talk about diagnoses, treatment, management at home, related conditions, and how to live with this condition. But if you're trying to write for businesses, oftentimes you're going to talk specifically about the device or the supply that you are trying to sell to your client, and all the pros and cons, or mostly the pros for having that device in that for that business. And those are two different ways to structure your articles. So the first thing I recommend is that you determine if you're going to write for businesses or if you're going to write for consumers. I chose to go the B2C route versus B2B, in large part because I was really missing the patient education from the bedside when I decided to transition into research and then started my business all at the same time. But that was something that I was missing, was the patient education. And one of the ways that I want to continue to give back is to continue to deliver patient education, but without people actually being my patients. So delivering to everyday consumers who are actively looking on Google for certain medical conditions that I'm well versed in. Okay, so the next thing that I recommend is to determine what type of content that you want to write for. So first, determine who you want to write for, businesses or consumers, and then once you figure that out, figure out what type of content you want to write. So specifically what I mean is, what is your subject matter that you're an expert in? For me, my background is in telemetry. So cardiovascular care is my niche. I also have a certification in psychiatric and mental health nursing that really goes or ties into my research. I am a nurse scientist by day, so I focus in on racism and discrimination and mental health and how those factors influence heart health, specifically in African American women. And so for me, most of my articles are within the umbrella of cardiovascular diseases and mental health. So figure out exactly what your specialty is. What are you interested in writing about? So if you have a background in labor and delivery, maybe you're going to write specifically on that topic. If you are interested in, med surg, but you have a background in case management, you can absolutely go and write those everyday medical condition articles, evergreen articles, but it may take a little bit more time and work on your part, especially if you don't have any prior experience. So I recommend that you start writing content that you are most familiar with, and then branch out into other content areas that you can absolutely do research for to become well versed in, but will take you a little bit more time in the beginning as you're learning that new field. Okay. Next thing that I recommend for time management is to start crafting your samples. So once you have figured out what your subject matter expertise is, start writing, start blogging. You can create a blog and put it on a website. You can create a website. You can also create articles or blogs on LinkedIn for free and post them to the top of, or pin them to the top of your page. You can also go to allnurses.com. That is where I started. I started writing, I think I wrote my first 3 or 4 articles there before I decided to develop my own website, where now I have a weekly blog. You can also go to Medium. At the time of this recording, Medium has recently switched over to having a paywall, so the majority, if not all, articles now are to be read for a fee. So most people who read your articles, if you do decide to go through Medium, are subscribers. They are people who have paid through Medium. There are, again, other places that you can write for free, and this may be helpful for you in the beginning as you're starting a new career in freelance writing, because you want that visibility. So I would highly recommend that you start with places like LinkedIn and All Nurses, and then you can move into other platforms on your own time. And when you're ready, you can also start your own blog and advertise it as much as you want and wherever you want. And then the last thing that I recommend in the very beginning of being a freelance writer is to learn how to start marketing yourself as such. I still struggle with this, but I'm also learning that I'm not only a freelance writer, I'm not only a registered nurse, I'm not only a nurse scientist, I am all of these things. And the more that people get to know me, I am not going to water down one to elevate the other. And that's okay. I do recommend in the beginning, though, in the beginning phases where you are just kind of getting your feet wet with being a freelance writer, that you spend some time maybe putting the freelance writing title at the forefront of all of the others, so that people will know right off the bat that you are someone who writes content. And hopefully from there, they'll be able to find you and your work and follow it, and future clients will be very close behind. And so marketing yourself includes places like LinkedIn. Instagram and Facebook are okay. You can market yourself there, but I also encourage you to start thinking about creating a website, whether you do it yourself or you have someone that you pay to do it. I do recommend that you get a website, so that, or at the bare minimum, you get a place where you can host a portfolio of your samples. LinkedIn is kind of okay to do that, but it's better if you have, a link to, all of your samples of writing in one place. I use my website for that. Other people will use other platforms to do that. There are a ton out there at this point, so it's not even worth mentioning any one in particular. Those are my recommendations for how to manage your time and where to focus your time as a brand new freelance writer. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this channel. Again, you can follow me on Instagram at Millennial Nursepreneur, and I have a course on health content writing. So if you are interested, please take a look at the link in the description.